Hi, folks. Let's give everybody a couple more minutes, maybe 5 minutes before we get started. And feel free to come on video to say hi if you want to, because that's what we do in TAPS.
Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear you, Zach.
actually something to say to the chairs. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to attend the whole 2 hours. I don't know,
Mm.
like if we need the 2 hours, but if you need my input on anything, if you can take those early in this call, that would be great help.
Yeah, and I had Aaron tell me that he's gonna have to jump off after an hour or two, so let's try to get the kind of heaviest stuff out of the way early on. Hi, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, you have a very light. Yeah, your
I
light
have a
is really.
very
You're in the dark.
light
Yes,
situation.
well, it's practically sunrise here in the West Coast, so
Oh.
I mean,
streak
I
of
know
dawn
I
and all
got up
that.
at 6:30.
Brutal.
And I see folks are trickling in. Hi. And I just told people that we're gonna start at 5 past to give everybody a little time to jump on. Smurfs in the background. Okay. Okay, I see it's 5 past the hour, and I expect more people to join because usually we got more of our editors and authors joining, but I suggest we can get started now because a couple of people have to jump off early. Aaron, what do you think? Okay, so
Yes,
you're
but,
unmuted. Yes. Hi. You said yes. Okay. So welcome everybody to our TAPS interim meeting where we're going to be discussing some of the comments that we got, and I saw that we've already had a lot of discussion and work done on the GitHub. So so I suggest we start from our open PRs. Do we have a volunteer to drive our GitHub? Pretty please.
Michael here.
Michael, would
Yeah.
you please drive our GitHub?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Let me see how to share. Here.
Got it.
Oh, that.
Nice. And now let's make it bigger.
Yeah, you mean the font?
Yes.
Okay.
A little more, a little more.
Even more? Okay.
Yes. A little
Okay.
more. Maybe
Even
one
more.
more step.
Okay. It's huge.
Oh, yeah. It looks
Yeah,
good for
this
me.
looks good. That looks good now.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall we go through the pull request first and then the issues, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I suggest that. I mean, in particular, we have a title change and we have, I guess, some language changes associated with that in the architecture document. And so I suggest we start there.
Title
Unless
change. That
we
would be
have
this.
strong objections to that. Yes. Yeah, there was a first attempt, and then
second
the one at the
attempt.
second attempt, I think, was the one that
Yeah.
Gori intended to be for real.
Is that
And I'm not sure if we want to discuss that one in isolation or if it goes together with further changes in the architecture document. I'll let Gori speak to that.
exactly? Should be Gori just.
Oh, unless you just jumped off.
Yeah. Can I talk?
Yes.
Oh my God. Why do I have sound coming out of the speaker from myself? Can other people hear me?
Well, I can hear you.
Okay. This
I
is
can hear you.
utterly weird. I'll rejoin after I've spoken. Yeah, so there were two attempts at this, partly because Eric didn't like what we had, and then I talked to him about what he.
Oh no. No, he left us.
Shall we
Even before
switch to something
he was
else in the
showing up as
meantime?
gray.
We lost you, Gori.
And I think we have echo. If everybody could please use a headset if you aren't already. I think that will reduce that.
Shall we do something else until he's back?
Yeah, so we have a title change, and then we also have a pretty substantial pull request, the one at the very bottom, right? Transport services system architecture. And I think that is all architecture changes, so I imagine it goes with the title change in some way.
Yeah, that goes with it. But shall we do something else until Gori is back? Because I think these are both for him to discuss.
Okay, so the other thing that I'm seeing marked as discuss is security by default, which happens to be yours.
What did
So if you want to summarize that for us.
Yeah, I think I have a few that should be pretty easy. Maybe this is the one. I don't know. Security by default.
Oh no,
Where is
it's
that?
actually it's marked as an issue to discuss. Sorry,
Ah, okay.
there might not be a PR associated with it.
I don't know. We can take a look at
But
that.
Gori is
That-
back
it's-
now. Gori, are you back?
Okay.
And sorry for the back and forth here, folks.
No problem.
Teco thought I did.
Ah,
Okay.
we hear you.
Hi, Gori.
So, what? Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Excellent. And I don't hear myself this time, so that's really better. Okay, so I don't know where you got to. I propose the title change. I think people should accept it. It's kind of independent of the rest of the issues, in my opinion. If we want to go for it, we can go for it.
Okay,
Go
can you
for
summarize the
the
motivation
second
for the
one or
title
the first
change,
one?
please?
Sorry.
What's the motivation for this particular title change, Gori? Can you summarize for us, please?
Okay, so the motivation for the title change is Eric asserts that an architecture document is purely a description of a plan. It's not actually a specification that the IETF needs to have requirements against. If we add the word requirements in the title, then he's totally happy with the document as it stands using requirements language. I didn't see a difference really between the two because I think architecture does have requirements, but this thought was held by others on the IESG call, along with other opinions, but at least this opinion was held that an architecture document is a particular type of document in the IETF, and this is not one of those documents.
So between the two different options, I think I do definitely prefer this one. I think the only issue I see here is it doesn't quite saying an architecture and requirements sounds a bit awkward. So I don't know if we can just change it to be maybe like architecture and requirements instead of just drop the an.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Eric does not care about whether we start with the, an, or nothing.
Great. So I will suggest that.
Okay, say it again. You just want to remove the n in the beginning?
Yep.
Yes, because it
Architecture
seems weird to
requirements.
have an requirements.
Yeah, that's okay. Then I just remove
yeah,
that.
actually,
If
you
that is
refresh
it,
the
then
page. Refresh the
okay,
page.
okay. Sorry
Yeah.
for that. I'll just do that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Refresh.
All right.
Perfect.
So shall we? Okay. Shall I commit? Shall we merge?
Good for me.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think the IESG are
I
being
think
weird,
this is
but if this is all we need to placate them, sure, go ahead.
No comment.
all
We have an
right.
architecture board as well, but I'm not even going there.
Second attempt at a title change. This one.
Okay, then I'll kill the other one as well.
And then Gori,
Okay.
what does that mean for? Does that have any implication for your larger PR of 1288 or no?
Okay, so it has a small implication, and I took Eric's comments and actually pondered on them, and I realized I thought we had the wording rather sloppy. So I tried to revise the text to separate out the word transport services system, which we already used, transport services architecture, and transport services implementation. So I think this is good for review by Tommy if he wants to do it. I did make changes after you said that you thought architecture was a better word by reverting some. So
I see.
does that answer you, Tommy, or do you want to say more?
the new title, this PR still is good to go.
I think it is, but I would love you to read it because it's trying to read into what we mean by these different terms. And we were using them rather in many different ways. So I was just trying to use them in the ways I last heard Tommy, that's you, use them.
Okay, and this, yeah, I can do another pass on this though. That'll take more time than what you want to wait for me to do right now.
Yeah, sure, but then it's done. But it might be a bit tricky to merge. Sorry, because we've edited since. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. What's next?
Registry.
Yeah, that's a good one to discuss.
So unfortunately, Philip can't join us today, but he sent me an email about this topic, and he says, and I'm quoting, "I have somewhat of a tendency to say, yes, we should create one, but I guess the decision should be made on the usefulness of a registry for the user/consumer of the API, and would love to see that argument discussed, even if I cannot be present." So we're talking about the usefulness of a registry for the user/consumer of the API, and um,
I
request.
could. Whoops. I could. I support what Phil has done, and I like it. I think we should seriously think about a registry for the IETF part, and we need to separate the two areas by using an underscore or some other character to delimit them, because this makes it so much easier to add new RFCs in the future when TAPS is really successful. I care less about the vendor specific space. I think that can be left to the vendors if we wish to, which I think is what is captured. So I'm happy with the current text. The issue
Hey,
I
I
had
mean,
when we talked.
what's the impact of adding a registry later? Sorry, Corey.
Okay.
I mean, can we punt on this? I like that
Yeah.
that approach, but I don't know what the cost is.
Yeah. I think the person who would use it would be the IETF when they publish new RFCs. And that new RFC can create this registry equally. The most important thing is that we separate out the space and we kind of say this is possible. I mean, whether we make the registry or not, I don't care. Yeah, I would prefer to keep some of the other text we sent, the couple of sentences we added, and just make it non-normative as descriptive. So just talk about it, and that's probably it.
Zahid has his hand up, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna call on him.
so I mean, I think I understand the philosophy, the thought process behind this registry, but can we summarize that one just to level up the discussion a bit? Like it was not really something that has been there from the ancient time, but it recently started thought about like having a registry. Can we just, for the record, I mean, just to everybody on the same page, can we have that summary of like why exactly we need a registry?
Corey?
I think it's important that we separate out the IETF space from the non-IETF space. So the IETF can in future define new RFCs that add things to what we have written in the TAPS specification. So the first comment here came, I don't know from who, somewhere, how do we do this kind of thing? And the suggestion was we create a registry. And I like that. But then the real point was separating out the vendor area from the non-vendor area. So if we create namespaces that start underscore as being vendor specific, then the IETF has all the ones that don't start with an underscore already. And at that point, basically the IETF can define a registry or not for its own part of this world. So Zahid, I think the discussion went, what do we put in this registry? And we thought we put lots of protocols, but in the end we decided, well, we don't need to put lots of protocols in here. So things became a little bit simpler. I think the root problem was simply the underscore, which probably was a really good call to have. I don't know who came up with that, but it was a good thing to have that. So I don't know more to this discussion than what I've said. So I'll let someone else add in more if they have more.
Yeah, just speaking individually, it's my recollection as well that we've brought up that possibility in the past, and then we always punted on it, saying, oh, we could add it if it's necessary in the future.
Yeah, I also remember that. Are you okay with what I wrote here? I think that reflects what we've said, right? We're requesting him to change some sentences to be non-normative and keep the text with the underscore, but not add a registry yet.
Michael, can you say a registry can be created by a future RFC, just to be specific on what you mean in the last sentence?
Just trying to capture what Gory, he said that makes sentences non-normative, just talk about it, but we can be clearer. I think this probably these must, should, these things, right? I mean, why is it even non-normative? Yeah, actually, this is what Corey said, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I
Second.
think it should be actually normative if you're thinking like that's solving our problem.
The only thing I wanted to change was the second part of 588.
Name of a protocol
and registered
should be specified
in the IETF. Yeah.
So that one, this should.
No, that should is okay, but it's got two parts to it: a part before an and a part after the and. The part after the and is not covered by the should.
And
yeah.
And ought to be registered.
No, and can be registered in a,
can be. Oh yeah, there is
Yeah,
no
yeah, right.
registry. Yeah, like
Just
this.
remove it. Click. Yep.
You know what? I'll leave it. I don't want to drive and make suggestions at the same time. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Okay, but I'll leave that. Okay. Command. I think that command probably reflects what we're saying. So.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Then we can go to the next. Yeah. Endpoints and endpoint identifiers is very boring to talk about. Maybe
So
if somebody else would take a look, simply, maybe we can just leave it as a request that people take a closer look at this. Because
I saw that one of the issues was labeled discuss, and this PR is not labeled discuss. Now, I'm not sure if there's like substantial need for real-time discussion right now, or if we should
I think
go
we
with
should.
the issue first, which also said security. And I noticed Paul is on the call, who I remember had input on security. So maybe we'll pivot to that. Security. No, there was an issue titled security by default. I didn't imagine it, right? It must be on the last
Here it
page.
is.
Yep,
Here it is. But this discuss label, I mean, I may have not fully reliably put it everywhere. I just put it in some places that gave me the feeling that we should probably discuss it, but it doesn't hurt. What was that? Oh yeah. We have one person saying it's out of scope, and Brian saying that the statement, it is recommended that the transport service implementation makes use of specialized security privacy features of the underlying protocol, is okay to have. That's just this. I think it's not a very big deal. It's that there is this sentence here, right? It is recommended that the default values are selected to ensure correctness. And the question is whether we should also say something about security like this, like makes use of specialized security features. I felt that when you start saying something like that, it's so vague that it doesn't really help anyway. And I think Gori agreed with that, and Brian, I think, was okay with the vagueness. So I don't know, we do something vague or we close this. Architecture 3.1.
So context is that we had a review by Roman, who suggested this change, but it doesn't say if it was a discuss actually.
No, it wasn't. Oh, okay, that's discuss. Oh, I get it, the discuss label. Ah.
No, I don't think it is.
No, it isn't. No, yeah, I'm sorry, that was my bad. I'm gonna take out the discuss label. You know what? I had a misunderstanding about the discuss label. The things that do have a discuss from the ISG. This is where I invented this stupid new label where it says review must reply. All these things are things that are part of the discuss of the ISG review. Oh, I'm sorry, because we used this discuss label in the past just for stuff that I thought should be discussed, but this is the important stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
can we finish the security thing? Also, Paul has his hand up. I want to give Paul a chance to speak.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify what I think Roman means to say there is that it says that a recommendation is to have the defaults as widely applicable as possible, but he's sort of missing but we don't want to have that to be an insecure, widely, deployable set. So I think it just wants a little bit of focus on that. You mean like wide, a wide set of applications, but that still have secure defaults on it. So I think that's what his comment is. Well, could this also be things like, do you need a particular cipher suite? Oh, right. Well, if that's the case, then I think just clarifying to Roman and saying what you just said should be enough, and you wouldn't need any additional text. But
Just it's not his discuss point. So this is not a blocking discuss point that. But this is a rather like his comment on this one. So basically, we need to address it or clarify what it means.
Yeah. So we can look at, there was one or two more red discusses that I should take out. That is just how we used to have it. Yeah, that also, these discusses, they're not ISG discusses.
Okay, so thanks for
Sorry for that.
no, it's okay. You did label the things that we must reply to. So maybe let's start with those now.
Yeah.
We start with our actual AESG blocking discusses.
Right. You want to take them from the first page here, or?
I don't have a strong opinion. I'm also not sure
Okay.
if of the open pull requests is still change that has substantial. I mean, you kind of said the endpoint thing wasn't something that we needed to talk about right here, right
Yeah,
now.
I think for the endpoint, I would just like to make a request for other people also to take a look at it. It's just a very long pull request.
Okay.
Because we use interchangeably endpoint to mean the thing that sends and receives something, but also sometimes the tuple of an IP address at the port, for example. So this is an effort to clarify that, and it's not in all instances so trivial. It's just very long and a bit annoying to do.
A lot of this seems to be capitalization change, right?
That's the Arch one. So for Arch, I just fixed the capitalization, but everything in API and implementation is different than that, because see, some cases are not so trivial. Like for instance, when you talk about racing, basically you do have a list of endpoint identifiers that you care about, but then the text says we're sending something to these as we race, right? Then you're sending to the endpoint. To which Phil said, I would rather call it endpoint identifier candidate or endpoint candidate. I don't remember. So this is just nitpicking about wording, and it's good for somebody else to also take a look at it, but it's not a super complicated thing, really. Well, because it's now an identified, a defined term.
Well, but I think just because we have a defined
Oh, I did. Yeah. Yes, I get that. Right. I agree with that. That would be good. And as you do it, as you look at it, maybe also take a look at that, what kind of thing it is, because it's not
My
always that
inclination is to
trivial.
defer. Sorry, my inclination is defer to a professional editor on these matters.
Yeah. I think, yeah, these other things also, I think not major issues. I mean, there are much harder things to discuss among the issues, in my opinion.
Okay, let's go there.
I would. Maybe we can look at these review must reply labeled. So, okay, maybe this. Yeah, okay, that one, I don't get it at all. We have that comment about this document in section 3 places listener as a pre-connection. And then also we have another comment that says security parameters are primarily associated with the pre-connection object, and wouldn't they equally apply to the listener? But I don't get either of these, because I mean, we call listen on the pre-connection, and then you have a listener that obviously inherits the properties of the pre-connection. And that's that. So to me, that's clear, and I don't see where the document places listener as a pre-connection. I just don't see that.
So for one, it seems to put the listener in the pre-connection group, and in the other, it seems to put the listener in the connection group. Like they seem to be inconsistent about whether they were like, whether listener is a separate group or not.
Where do you see that in the document? I couldn't find this. So this is about API. In section 3, I just couldn't see that.
So at some point it talks about the listener as part of the connection or pre-connection group, and in the other document it treats it as a separate thing, as in like these three are at an equal level different.
Okay. So because in section 3,
is it an architecture that it treats as different, or implementation?
this is a different place. So in section 3, I don't even see. Architecture, you mean? Because it was an API review. I think I double checked even. Oh, I can take a look at Arch. Start here. 3. Listener. Yeah, see that? You call listen on the pre-connection, it becomes a listener.
It's been a while since I reviewed this, so I'd have to look up the exact section where it was myself. But one document has 3 categories and the other document has 2 categories.
Categories. Okay. Yeah.
Now, the issue was purely the grouping. It was not about any of the functionality. It's okay. I'll find the text that I found inconsistent and I'll send the message to the list.
That would be really nice because I tried to find this, I didn't get it. Okay, but then we go on to the next, I guess. Yeah, this. Comments, thoughts?
Is the ALPN mentioned?
Maybe. Okay, the word doesn't appear.
Is the ALPN a transport thing or something for the applications running over the transport? Is that a... Yeah, okay, so I suppose you need it for this, yeah. Okay, well, it sounds like we need it. Yeah, it only makes sense for some transports, though, right? I suppose we write it as this is a hint for the ALPN to use for transports that support it.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Is this explicitly security related? I thought ALPN was more general.
It's part of TLS.
It's part of TL. Okay, so I guess it is. Even in Quick, it's security related. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Who do I assign? May I assign Tommy? Thank you. Where are we? Here. I don't know. Anyone?
I thought the point was that TAPS did this for you.
So I hear you type. So okay. See. Okay.
Oh, that's even more valuable.
Okay, what was the phrasing? Choosing the protocol, the endpoint does not choose the protocol, right? That's what we.
Amy.
Directly. Yeah.
I mean, are there cases where there's a semantic difference where somebody would have a difference between the service running on TCP versus the one running on UDP, such that there could be a policy reason to connect to one over the other?
And then can't you actually just force it?
I thought so. I thought we have it that you can choose it if you must.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope we do.
We do.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is. I guess I'm just wondering whether it's worth a cross-ref or something. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Host name versus fully qualified domain name. Can with host name be unqualified? If not, can the call with host name be renamed to?
So, my comment.
I would have thought, yeah.
I mean, there's no way of requiring it to be fully qualified, though.
I would also
the
assume the
application,
code
right?
before this would qualify this already before calling this part. But
It comes from the application the same way that calling get host by name or whatever would. Yeah, right.
But what about the idea of renaming it to with FQDN? We could. It's not a beautiful name, but
not necessarily an FQDN.
so yeah, my concern was that you can pass an unqualified host name, and that parts of this architecture or protocol assume that it's a fully qualified domain host name and treat it as such, and that there's some ambiguity that could happen. Like, I'm not so much worried about the name, more that like people understand whether or not this function can take a non-qualified hostname.
So should we just clarify that this is supposed to get a fully qualified domain name?
Well, the problem is
The
we can't
text?
guarantee that. I mean, it sounds like more of a clarification for the implementation document. You know, to say, to be clear that while we would like this to be fully qualified, it can't be, and if there are things that require it to be,
Yeah,
they have
ought to be.
resolve it first.
In the implementation draft.
To me, it sounded more like we would like to catch some error, like if somebody sends some unqualified name, things will not work, and then what? Then is TAPS system should reply with something that, hey, don't bullshit us or something like that. Or, yeah, definitely.
More with DDD, where they're trying to sort of do configurations about your resolver and your domain names as well. So like sometimes you get search domains that you're not aware of.
Huh.
That's fine with me. If you put some text like that in, then it's clear to me.
Cool.
Okay. Added a comment, and it's another one that I'm assigning to Tommy. I hope that's okay.
Hey, Michael, let me just pause here for a second. Do we need to do a quick triage on this? I'm concerned about the length of the list and want to make sure that we focus on the items that are going to get the best benefit of the group discussion. I don't know if you're already doing that, but these seem like pretty rapid convergence. Sorry, go ahead, Tommy.
I mean, these all,
Okay.
the orange ones, they're all discuss blocking comments. That's the orange label. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are there any that concern you about getting a discussion going on the response that we should maybe try to tackle first? Because I don't know, it seems like so far we haven't had much in the way of disagreement, and just want to make sure that we get our disagreements out early so we can sort through them.
Concern me. So I mean, there are quite many where I felt that I couldn't address them. I've been trying to address whatever I can easily address, but these were things like nits and so forth, pretty easy ones. There come some rather tough ones from Lars, so like harder to answer.
Yeah. So we.
Do you want to do Lars's first? These are the orange as well.
I'm basically pushing this out to the team as a proposal. I thought that, I thought some of Lars's comments were, well, I don't know. You have to get to the specifics. Like his commentary was somewhat tough, but maybe the specific issues that he wanted responses to were not so much, but we don't have to respond to his commentary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with it. It's a problem, right? We just have too many issues for the time that we have today. I don't know what to do. You tell me. I'm driving. You click. You tell me where to click.
Yeah, all right.
Somebody tell me.
Let's go to unless somebody objects. Let's go to Lars's issues and see if there's stuff there.
Okay. So I guess these are probably
maybe we're gonna have to.
Where it begins orange, this is probably where Lars's begins. I'm sorry I didn't put it in the name where Lars's begin. Right, this is from Lars, and I think just above is another one. Oh no, it's also, that's the comment part. Anyway, but these orange ones here, these are the discuss part from Lars. So probably should begin with those.
Michael, can I just check? Are these actual IESG discusses? Because I thought he stepped back in the meeting and didn't raise a discuss. Are you sure they are discuss items? I mean, I think we should resolve them anyway, but we should probably determine whether they're actually blocking publication or not.
He put a statement somewhere saying he wants to defer from the document.
Yeah, well, that's okay. He just doesn't. We don't need his vote to progress. I mean, we want to have the conversation for sure, but
So just let me fill in. I don't think Lars has any discuss on any of the TAPS document, but he did mention in his comment, like, okay, I'm gonna abstain because he doesn't perhaps understand how this makes things implementable. So that was his main kind of feedback. And then I think during the discussion meeting, I think Gori, you, me, and Martin kind of like pushed back on those things, like how, because one of his main critical point was like, hey, can I take just one TAPS system implementation and put it in, like, took it from Linux and put it in Windows or somewhere else, anywhere. And we said, like, hey, yeah, definitely the basic knowns of like TAPS API doesn't change, but obviously you need to do some implementation thing because there is no like common framework for how to write software in different operating system. So that was one of the main concern he pushback he had. But yeah, but as I said in my mail to all of you, like saying, like, I would like to have us add proper feedback to his comments, so that at least we are happy that we did our part.
Yeah.
Then it's up to him to decide, like, whether he wants to defer or like yes or abstain or what.
Okay, I get that. Thanks, Sahib.
So I think
okay. That is
current ballot in so he has number of points that's a discuss on API document. Yes. Yeah.
Right, let's do this.
Exactly.
So maybe the one that we're looking at right now is the most important one, because he put that specific text under discuss, and then later in the comment he wrote that he thinks that he wants to abstain from the document because of the complicated interactions between properties, like that there can be very complex interactions that and he's not convinced that these interactions are all fully covered, given that we don't have so many implementations. That's how I read this, and this is the one example that he has in his text where I don't honestly see the big complication. Like in this particular example, it would just fail, right? You have a connection that's not reliable, and then you say this message ought to be reliable. Well, then it's just not going to work. You get a failure back. I don't see the big complication here. So I generally fail to see the problem with the complexity between these properties. But that, I think that is the one issue, like the one thing where he picks out an example that reflects this. So, my opinion, you just get an error if you try, right?
do we need to add a simple sentence there that, because we say if the message property contradicts the connection property and if the per message behavior can be supported, it overrides. We need to
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I also wrote here, maybe after the paragraph, we should just put the case. So yeah, that's what I wrote. The opposite case, right? If it doesn't work, then it would lead to a failure. Exactly. We just need to say that, I think. Yeah.
And ideally point out the specific.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if there's a general thing we can add that says that overriding with per message properties is useful for removing functionality, but if you're trying to use it to add functionality, it might fail. If you've got something which is reliable, you can make it unreliable, but you can't. And you say if your connection is reliable and you say I want something unreliable, it's always going to work. It just may give you more than you need. If you try and add something, if you try and add reliability, it's not going to. So you can maybe write that more generally.
That sounds a bit scary. I mean, if I'm trying to be Lars, I would say define functionality. Like, how would it be? You add functionality when it's reliable and you don't add functionality when it's unreliable. Maybe you can find a case where you choose A or B and each is functionality. Okay, I'll assign that to you and hope for the best. Anyway, I think this probably ought to be done by somebody with a big implementation, because that was his concern. Okay, let's take the next in this list here. Oh yeah, scheduler property. I'll begin opening it. It's probably a bit better that way. Haven't I already put the PR? No, yeah, I made a PR that tries to address that. This, I think, is simple. He's just asking, what is the scheduler scheduling? Is it related to connection priority? So my proposal is to say yes, and this is the PR that goes with it. To apportion the available capacity according to connection priorities. Is this okay? Hello, people.
Capacity, Michael, or is it also priority and other things? Is it just how we choose amongst the different?
Well, it's really,
in the group?
I mean, it's a scheduler, right? So it's gonna apportion the capacity, whose turn it is when. This is just like a scheduler between streams.
I am not nitpicking on this. I like your text. Fine.
Shall we merge it?
Yep.
Why is this gray? Oh, it has conflicts. Oh my god. This is like, how can that have a conflict? This is a tiny piece of text. Yeah, okay. To be merged after conflict resolution. Just put it like that. We can take a look at the next. Complex interaction between properties. Okay, but I think then this statement was in the discuss part. So that's already the end of the Okay. So I split it. Okay, I split it here. So there is a part in the discuss part and the part in the comment part. Right, where it says it defines a boatload of different properties, many of which are interacting with each other.
Mhm.
And then the statement in the comments. I felt this is related to the example that we just discussed. But future interactions are undefined. How can a programmer make informed choices?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I was going to say the same thing. Surely the answer is, well, yes, but so does the current API. So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the alternative, as Lars sees it, is to make the document experimental. I think that's the message here.
Well, they are already, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, we should probably craft an answer here.
This is internet standard. This is proposed standard.
Yeah.
I mean, surely the answer here is yes, we agree. This
Since
no more
there
so
was like there is no
BSD sockets.
implementation available, and then we made it clear like there are implementations in the NIT project, and I think Apple has some sort of like reflected thing what's happening in the tabs. So I think that was the pushback, and my personal opinion here is like, I mean, it's the only document I think should be on a standard track, if any of them. So just answer this question. I mean, just reply what you got, this working group think about that one regarding, and then we'll take the discussion with Lars. Because anyway, he might actually abstain, but that should be. That's what we should be discussing.
Handling the future. Okay.
Well, that's
All
easy.
right.
Sit around for long enough for those implementations to exist, and then we'll know how to define them.
But I mean, isn't it the same thing, right? I mean, you know, if we stick with BSD sockets, we have the same problem. If we keep defining more and more complex transport protocols with more and more parameters, we're going to feature interactions. And I mean, other than saying to the IETF, only design simple transport protocols. And good luck with that.
It's not a requirement on our architecture to prevent people from taking their own stuff.
Sorry.
I didn't catch that. I mean, I'm just trying to write what people say here. I don't know.
Michael, since TAPS is often laid on top of the BSD sockets, it inherits this problem in some respects. I mean, the BSD sockets API has many of these strange inconsistencies in. And it's got to be better here, but it's not fixed.
Is this not okay? What am I supposed to do? I'm just writing some text, right? We have also implementation of TAPS systems available, future interactions of future protocols also unclear in the BSD sockets API. TAPS is laid on BSD sockets and inherits its problems. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't know good words to put this in writing either. We can either do it or not. It's like okay, I'll click comment. These are now the comments that we have. Anybody who wants to edit that or put more text, go ahead. But
so Michael, before going forward, just
yeah.
I don't know, like where during the discussion or somewhere in his comments, Lars says like, I mean, if we have a lot of like if this TAPS is supposed to solve the socket problems and selection of like what protocols and all these things. So if it is not solving that, what it is doing. So I think the last comment that we're writing, we might fall into this kind of discussion. Just like understand. So I mean, if you inherit problems, so what are you solving? So I think
can take the last sentence out.
Saying something like that.
Can take that out.
Yeah, it makes it much better, perhaps. I suspect we're going to have, if we want to make a considered response to Lars, we're going to have to open a document in GitHub or something and just work out what that point is, because this applies to many of the things he's raised. And maybe Tommy's point that basically there is a fairly comprehensive implementation of this, as well as a number of other attempts to implement it. So this is not worse than what we have, it's better than that. And we just need to catch this, I think. That would be my take.
That is true.
That's a really great point.
Wants to properties or options. Yeah. 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 Say the last one again. The intent is for future protocol-specific options to also be categorized that way. Yeah. In our prior RFCs leads us to believe that we have chosen a working subset, workable. Like that. I mean, at least it's a text basis. We can always edit it and change. I mean, feel free to edit my text. Just trying to capture what we say here. But this is good, I think. I mean, somehow we have an argument that we're a bit cleaner. The socket API has across multiple protocols the same kinds of generic things in different names and different ways. And we're categorizing and cleaning things up a little bit. So it's cleaner.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, if specifically looking at socket options, like which ones you can set when, at what point the socket is alive and for which protocol. Like you have to know in some cases, like where you are in mid negotiation.
We're certainly cleaner in the zero RTT part. I once wrote zero RTT code with BSD sockets just for the fun of it. That's just completely crazy. I mean, you have this datagram socket that you use to where you do a send tool as a way of creating a TCP connection. It's really awkward. Anyway, let's take the next. With protocol TCP TLS in an example. Here, why does the remote specifier definition not contain a with protocol clause for TCP TLS? And what would that look like? I think it's the same. Yeah, but we have an example here, right? Quick remote specifier with protocol quick. We're not supposed to do that, but we have it. So that contradicts also this other thing we discussed, doesn't it? Ah. Okay. Okay. But I think that still doesn't answer other protocol combinations that may want to specify. Yeah. But I think the concern is about, I think there's also another part of his review somewhere where he's saying, where does this come from? Like, where is the list of names that we can pick here?
Yeah, it's not necessarily obvious in those two cases, like what the default for the top one should be. Like why is it just because we've decided based on the port that we're going to do HTTP or quick or whatever?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Regarding why does it not contain one? The first is the default, right? And the quick part is to defines an exception for one specific protocol. But how, well, what would that look like? That's the, yeah, I mean, that's the question. So we need to add a list somewhere, I think, of valid protocol combinations to give. And that connects us to this whole discussion of the registry and all that.
So if I remember correctly, speaking as an individual, if I remember correctly, we talked about how to choose a specific protocol with TAPS because a few people were asking for it, and that was years ago. And we said, okay, I guess we're not going to prohibit that if people really need to choose one particular protocol, but we're not going to specify how to do it because it's something we want to discourage in TAPS. Anybody else remember that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember that, as you say.
Gory raises his hand.
Yeah, I remember, but I remember also being contentious about whether you don't or you do, because people talked about specific applications which had to be run and whether those could just run in TAPS by specifying what they need at the moment in a sort of legacy mode. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can really require people not to say which transport they're going to use. If someone's got an SCTP app and it really wants to use SCTP because that's what they know their server runs and that's kind of what they've built, they should still be able to use TAPS. And then in the future, they could transition away to doing that later. Maybe I'm out on one edge of the consensus. I'll let other people talk.
No, I mean, of course, what's good about not putting a list of protocols there, or well, not specifying how to choose the protocols, is that we don't have this naming problem, and we don't have to specify a list, and we don't have to have a registry for it. That's just a practical concern that this is an easy way out as well. But we didn't want to recommend that sort of usage in the first place. And I agree. Like if we specify it, we invite a use that we didn't really want. So.
Well, and I think getting back even to the last PR, that's sort of one of the other advantages that, or not PR issue, one of the other advantages that TAPS has is that you don't necessarily need to spell everything out, 100%. Like people who are writing network-enabled software, which is pretty much all software, don't want to have to spell everything out, and a lot of issues that people have writing software have to do with spelling everything out. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I like, on the one hand, I like the fact that we have all of these defaults. On the other hand, and I guess this gets back to sort of the discussion around observability and policy, is what I don't like is that it's not necessarily discoverable. I don't think that it has to be defined here, but it should be possible for somebody to discover what happens when I instantiate this pre-connection or whatever.
Yeah, I put a PR in response to that request. I don't know if it was your request, but I put a PR in response to that in there for in ARC, that in an architecture document. There should be a paragraph that just makes a slightly stronger statement saying we really should be offering a monitoring facility so that people can see what's going on.
Yeah, I saw that.
But we don't
that
define
got merged
it
a couple hours ago.
Okay. What did I want to write here? Don't want to specify how to do it. Yeah. So is that the consensus, that we just make a PR that makes it a bit clearer that with protocol doesn't exist, because we actually don't recommend even offering this, but if people must. But then isn't that example, should we have that example? Should we do away with that example?
I don't like that the consensus you're drawing on this one.
You don't like the consensus what?
No, I don't agree with the direction that that's going.
Okay.
I agree with the first half. I don't want people to design applications this way. But I don't think you can prevent people from designing applications this way until they've been through school and learned how to do it better. So I think we ought to define it, even if it comes up every time with a warning saying using legacy method or something. I mean,
okay.
I don't. Maybe Tommy's got a stronger feel, but
you mean for the case where you set it on the primary one? Because I think setting an override for like, hey, this particular protocol uses a different port like that.
But then we need to fully specify how to do it, and we need a list of valid protocol names and combinations, which is okay. We can do that. Okay, then maybe we allow doing it to override under the default.
Yeah. And the list of supported ones is presumably the list we want. Is it not MinSet's list currently? I mean, it could be more, but
The MinSet list of protocols doesn't look at protocol combinations like TCP, TLS, and so on, I think.
Yeah, right. And that's where, yeah, and this is, okay. I groan because this is where we got to with having system properties and all sorts of things. And, you know, it's big.
Mm-hmm.
So do we really need that specification as well? In other parts of the documents, we note that different systems have different policies. In some respect, like this is yeah, I know. In some respect, this is like what exists in your Etsy services. That's how somebody might implement this kind of thing as far as what defaults to choose. So is it possible to defer that list elsewhere while
Hey, I have
noting
an
the
idea.
validity of it?
I have an idea, because there was also another one from Lars saying how would like where we choose an interface, and he's asking where does this list of names of interfaces come from? How do people know what interfaces exist on the host? Why don't we invent primitive that let us query? You know, just a primitive that says this gives you the list of available interfaces. And this gives you the list of available protocols, and then from that one you choose. Yeah, I mean, so let's stick with protocols for now. I mean, for that one,
Michael,
we could have a query that asks for protocols.
Michael?
Yeah.
I'm not against this, but I do notice that Martin put a comment in the chat about the registry thing and maybe would like to speak on that. since he was in the IESG meeting. And he's about to leave the meeting.
Yeah,
because
exactly. And the meeting is going on, so I'll put it here as a maybe we should have a primitive to query for available protocols. So the interface question is separate from that. I'll just put it as a question and go away from this. Okay, then we can, offline take a look. I mean, so right, Martin wanted to talk about which one? Yeah.
If I dropped off, was there a question for me?
Go ahead, Martin.
Was there a question for me?
Yeah, so I don't see the chat.
Oh, yeah, about the registry thing. Like, Tom, you seemed like really resistant to having one. I'm wondering like what costs you're seeing that I'm not seeing. Okay.
Hi there, we'd like to welcome you to your flight with Alaska Airlines and
I guess the way this would work is so we would have this, like this spec would just have TCP but no registry, and then if we decided to have, if we added like a quick one that had properties, then we'd have to like update this to then require these implementations to check the registry, respect the registry rather than just have a single reserve name. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's a little messy, but I sympathize with the idea that like this may not matter. So it's not to discuss. It's not a big deal. It seems reasonable to me. So it's okay. Maybe not what I would do aesthetically, but not a big deal. Thanks.
Okay. What do we do? Go back to this list here. Okay, so don't need a protocols are available. Enumerating, you mean writing a static list in the document? Right, you don't need to, yeah, I get it. Right, so we can put a statement saying that the documentation of a transport services implementation should provide the list. Huh? yeah, the API documentation, we can really make a recommendation like that of transport services system should, well, must contain, no, should, because we don't have to specify, should contain a list of choosable protocols and protocol combinations. Okay, that's good. And then we get to the next, which is similar in style. I think we have it here anyway. This usage of protocol identifiers, that's probably the same thing. This is the first and only time protocol identifiers are used. What are they defined to be? Yeah, so we can, that is related, right? It's a string, and this string is based on the list that is in the documentation of the API. Could be a number or whatever, yeah. So this is just, yeah. I can try making a text here, just for the fun of it, to offer a bit of help.
So, Michael, I think this is one of the areas where Lars kind of drilled into. Well, basically, your spec says anything, and if I move my code to another system, then I just need to redo everything. And I kind of get it, but I also kind of get Tommy. So I don't know where we lie between the two extremes of having well-known strings here that can be put into the string matching algorithm and get you well-known.
Yeah, I think having things portable across TAPS systems is not going to be, it's going to be an illusion anyway, right?
It's an illusion, but it's not a complete illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should say both. Both are true, and you know what I mean. We shouldn't create artificial barriers for this porting between different systems, but there's always going to be things that have to be fixed up. But kind of what we said on the IESG call, as I recall, it was, well, you know, it's much easier with TAPS because at least you have a common framework between the two systems. And you do have to match everything again. Okay, well, I'm only saying that so that we don't kind of steer in totally the wrong direction. I personally think strings are nice. Do other people think we should have numbers?
Okay. Let's use strings. That's okay. I'm always ending up here. Yeah, we get to the next one. How do we learn about available interface names? So I get that this is more dynamic, but there's got to be a way to do it, because we specify, for instance, the string EN0, right?
So we talked about this in 865. That was an issue that I raised like a year ago or two. So if we want to do some archaeology, we can look at that issue.
Look at, what was that? Something 65?
Number 865.
865? What?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is that? BCP or no? What?
Issue
number.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. 865. All right. Doesn't even. Okay, it is. Okay. Shall we do this now, Ivana? Can do that. I don't know if I... Here, should endpoint object identifiers be discoverable? Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
No, it kind of sat there. It got solved a little bit in terms of like rendezvous, but that wasn't necessarily the context that I was thinking.
Not clarity. Hmm.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Are they all strings, even if they turn out to be numbers?
No.
So you should have a primitive to get a list of strings and then you pick a string. That's what. Yeah.
But the approach of we suggested in 865 of resolving a pre-connection, and that will give you interfaces that match that pattern. Seems a give you the set of things that match that pattern. Seems a reasonable way of doing it, and fits within the framework.
Give us a pre-connection.
You create a pre-connection which has whatever constraints you want, and then call resolve on it, and it will turn it into a set of matching pre-connections, and then you can either,
if you scroll
if you're
all
doing
the way down.
if you're doing net traversal stuff, you can pass those to the peer as the candidates. But if you want to use them for something else locally, then there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah, that's part of what's written in the be careful with the results of preconnection.resolve commit.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. I read this sentence and I was like, that makes sense. I also agree with Tommy. I mean, so I work on Fuchsia and we have a very different way of getting information about interfaces on the system than anybody else does. So I agree that like it doesn't make sense to specify this is how necessarily this is what an interface is, because it's in some cases maybe not even a string.
Okay. But what do we do? I mean, I think that the question still stands, right? That you can actually write with interface EN0, and the question is where does EN0 come from? So that question is not gone.
But we need
So I had
a general
a
way of doing this, don't we, for net traversal? And I thought that was pre-connection.resolve.
Well, you mean
that's what we've written already, I think.
So we dealt with this already with IPv6 scoped addresses, because that was the second point that I brought up in issue 864, and that was fixed with a comment illustrating that scoped addresses were equivalent to using with IPv6 address and with interface together. So, I mean, yeah, if it devolves into a question of like, how do you know what the interfaces are? And there is zero value to us specifying this, because whatever, network framework does is not going to be, what we have in Fuchsia, and that's not what Android has, and that's not what, Windows has, or FreeBSD, or
So we just put a sentence there saying that there has to be some platform-specific API that yields an interface name that can be used for this kind of call.
But I thought we defined a general API. This is why I'm confused.
Yeah.
I thought we'd said that you create a pre-connection and you resolve it.
So the resolve. Okay, so that's what I didn't fully catch that. The thing you do for rendezvous, so you create a pre-connection, you resolve it locally,
and that
then
gives you the list of
get
local
that anyway.
endpoints. Yeah.
So it's not just for rendezvous, really.
Right, it's
Care
to
should be
return
taken
a
in
list
usage
of
for any other context.
local endpoints. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you need to take care because it might, the list might change and everything, right?
This should. Well, we have contain information about the available interfaces. See, and what was that PR? It's a 947. 947 states somewhere that this is what can be used. Here, I mean, probably stated close to this thing because this threw Lars up because he didn't guess that he has a name available. Okay. I can give it a try. Just see what happens. Okay. Sorry, Colin, for not immediately catching that. I think you said it before, and I didn't fully understand what you had said. This not just IETF document in the RFC series. This may, in fact, be an easy one. Because I think, yeah, this has been overtaken by events. So we just, I opened the issue with label review to remind us that we need to answer, but I think we should just say that we have fixed this.
Yep, was resolved. Tell him so.
Right, so I can close that one for now at least. Like if we look for these things that require an answer, then we have it available. But, okay. Oh, that was already the end of the discuss part from Lars. Do you want to go on Lars's, or shall we look at other review must reply cases?
We have 10 minutes left on this call, and I'm wondering. I guess we're not getting through all the issues, including the non-discuss. I'm wondering if we have any specific plan of action right now for the stuff that we did talk about, and then also, are we gonna have another interim, or like what are people's thoughts? Corey has a hand up.
We have too many people. We had far too many people interested in what we did. So we have far too many good comments. I think we're going to need another interim to finish them I think we could probably make good progress on many of them, and maybe Michael can go faster and just work out where the starting point is for others. But I suspect we'll need an interim just to finish off.
I agree with that. I mean, I have to say that there were far too many comments that I have to say, especially in Lars's review, that made me go, oh yes, right. Like for instance, bounce on send and receive rate. Well, we can discuss that. I mean, that's over what time, he asks, right? How do you define a rate? Very good comment. I mean, yes, probably not hard to solve, but it needs some discussion or some agreement. There are many like that. Many things that made me go, oh, yes, yeah, true. We just need to think it through, and some may warrant a bit more discussion, I think.
Right. So what are people's energy levels? Because we have an IETF meeting coming up in 5 weeks. So I don't know if we have time for another interim before that, or if it's that urgent. Gory, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I guess have we cleared the discusses on Arch? Because we could pick Eric off. He was very willing to be picked off, as they say.
Was there anything else other than Eric on Arch that was a discuss? I think he was maybe the only one.
Okay, well, that's good. So if we work on those, we can try and conclude that, and then we could try
That's
and
API.
get back to Eric. That's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we would meet before the IETF. Is that even feasible? If that's feasible, let's look at diaries. If it's not, then we have to meet at the IETF, which seems strange because we don't have a working group meeting. We just need a meeting for the same duration to fix the problems we have.
Right, yeah, I guess if we decide to have an interim meeting exactly 2 weeks from now or something, it could work. But I don't know if we have enough people available. But if we go through the whole scheduling thing, I don't think we can pull it off before the next IETF meeting.
I mean,
at the IETF meeting, we need to decide soon.
Yeah, I mean, the IETF meeting doesn't remove the scheduling thing, it just punts it, because very soon the IETF schedule fills up, and yeah, there's no time at the IETF meeting unless we have a working group meeting scheduled in our schedule list. It would just get filled out.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, so I mean, we can easily meet to clear a particular issue. It's just trying to get through more of them. Okay, so I'm going to suggest I could apply some edit cycles in the next 2 weeks to try and resolve the things we've made progress on. What about other people?
Yeah, I can do that too, but my capabilities are limited. I mean, there's the things where I feel safe about making changes. I mean, there are just many comments here that are not so easy to address.
Yeah, and that's my problem, because I've already killed off large number of issues already because I knew how to do it, and these are the kind of the ones I'm less sure about. Right. Tommy, have you any cycles to go through the list and try and drop in answers for the issues so we know which direction to head in? Because I think the ones that are left are probably the ones that are more near to the people with experience than to understanding of the architecture.
Sure, and I've given some PRs just now, but
yeah. Yeah. Well, then maybe we should try and just schedule a meeting and see if we can get people together. I mean, we're probably
So you're
not going
talking.
Yeah, I'm saying we're not going to make major decisions at this stage. It's like, what sort of text do we want to say on this kind of marginal thing, which is important, but it's just on the edge of what we've been looking at. So we could probably just pick a date and see how many people we can get.
So Gori, you're suggesting a side meeting in Prague, is that?
I'm suggesting a side meeting in Prague, or I'm suggesting interim, maybe week starting 23rd, if that's feasible. Does anybody have energy to do something week starting 23 October?
I do.
I'm happy to, though I don't know how much my opinion matters.
I have to admit I don't really have energy on the 23rd and that week.
Yes, provided after the 23rd.
I can do that.
Because that's 23rd is the draft deadline, right?
So are you talking about Monday, or are you talking about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah,
Monday's the draft deadline, I think. So we probably want to be either a week before or just after that. Because people will be busy submitting drafts.
Yeah, not on a draft deadline is what you're saying.
Right.
Can I stop sharing?
Yeah. Okay, maybe
Please do.
if I sent a doodle for, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week and the week before, and then we'll see how many people we could get, so we can make progress on that before the meeting, before the IETF meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable. We could even assign, if we decide that it's a non-quorate number, we can assign issues to people and write draft text in the tracker. I think that step's useful.
Would it be useful to use some of that time to identify like breakout groups in case the whole set can't be done? So people in a particular domain like enumerate these issues for them, or is that basically what you're suggesting?
That's kind of what I'm suggesting. I mean, I'm hoping that many of us will be together 2 weeks later at the IETF meeting, and then we have a very clear focus that, like, what the heck do we do with this? And we can have a discussion. But at the moment, we just have too many things which require a little bit of expertise in some of these areas to get through. So try and triage them a little bit more, try and assign people, try and even prepare comments on all these issues. I think that would be a very useful activity.
Okay, that sounds right. And I think we have a plan. Thank you, folks, for sticking with this. I'm excited we're making progress. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
Can I just add a comment from Martin from the chat?
Sure.
He wanted us to go through his comments in the data tracker and see whether we'd address them all. And I guess other ADs might also have a similar thing. I doubt if these people really want a blow-by-blow account, but we might want to try and just somehow feedback to them, because a lot of people did fairly detailed reviews. So Martin asked, did we solve everything, basically?
Well, he also said he found the relevant issues, never mind, in like a message after that. But I think we want to make sure that we actually reply to all of the ISG reviews.
Yeah, but we might reply to them all like we solved them all rather than enumerate them.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just feeding it back because Martin sent me an email off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally just being helpful. Right, I'm going to lower my hand and let you talk, Reese, if you have any more things.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we need to assign somebody specific to reply to any particular ISG member, or how that's going to work. When are we declaring success? Corey?
Yeah, I'm happy to reply to Eric on Arch.
Thank you, Corey.
So I'll just drop an email around the editors as soon as I think we've solved it all, to make sure we've got a thing, and the chair, of course, and when we'll send something off to Eric and see if he's happy to close the discuss he has on that. The other ones are a bit more tricky, and I guess we just have a plan that continues to work away against those.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right, folks. We're at time. Thank you all. and I'll see you hopefully in a few weeks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.